Hey guys, I'm super excited to talk to Sean about Property Radar because it's never been more important that we as real estate agents have great data as a tool for us to be able to find that next seller in your marketplace. So in this video, Sean and I are going to talk about the top 5 listing lead sources that we need right now to be able to help you get those listings and make more sales. So Sean, thank you so much for joining me today. Let's just dive right into the top 5 listing sources right here in 2021 and beyond. So my number one thing that I want to help all of my friends and my clients out with is the absentee owner or the non-owner occupied. And when I looked at Property Radar and the tool set of what I can get there, I was blown away. Most of the agents out there today, Sean, they're getting this data set kind of from maybe like the title rep. They're getting it from kind of these sources. And man, when they either make calls or they're spending lots of money on direct mail, the quality of the data is just really poor. So I'd love to hear from you on kind of what these guys have access to inside of Property Radar regarding the absentee owner, non-owner occupied.
We did a couple things differently there. So everybody relies on basically 2 pieces of data. Does the mailing address match the home address? With the idea being that if the person doesn't, getting their mail at the house, they're probably a landlord or it's a second home. The other one being that California and other states have a homeowner tax exemption. And if you're a homeowner, you get a little lower taxes. We get that data, and so we're able to look at that. So we use those 2 pieces, the tax exemption in states where it's available, the different mailing address. In Property Radar, we give you the switch to say, I want non-owner occupied, but we also say, do I want the same mailing address and the tax exemption? So you can play with those 3 separately. The other thing that we did is if the mailing address is different, is it in the same county? Is it in the same state? So that you can look for folks that are farther away versus folks down the street.
Yeah, that is so cool. And I think for me and all my friends, what I can't stress enough is if I'm a prospector, I'm someone who's making phone calls, the quality of the data reduces the amount of time and headache that we have to deal with in terms of, kind of a call to the right person I want to talk to. And then also in our direct mail campaigns, which are, can be very costly, the quality of the data reduces your expenses and increases your results. So guys, I can't stress to you enough. You have to jump in and look at that data from Property Radar on your absentee owner. And then I think the most important piece is that your guys' list is constantly being updated. So, the reason why I want this tool is because as the list changes over month, year over year, you guys are going to have access to the updated list. Again, improving the response rates of all of your marketing efforts and or your prospecting efforts.
Good.
Anything else to add on to that?
Yeah, a couple things. One is, even we do a lot of work to make sure we have better data, but it's never perfect, right? So you got to go in with that expectation that you're going to get some bad phone numbers. Yes. So you're going to get some people who go, wait, I live here. You may be able to tell them, hey, did you know you could be taking a homeowner tax exemption, saving some money? That might be a good way to build rapport. The other thing is that we see agents doing really well with is we've also added in demographics data. So things like age. So you take somebody who's 80, who's an absentee owner, right? That's very different than what we call the Burbros, who are, 35s trying to build up a rental portfolio, right? They're not likely to be sellers. Somebody who's 75, 80, they're probably getting done with being in the landlording business, probably ready to sell, use some of that money in their retirement. So that's another really hot list right now.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about the most likely to sell next, but you bring up such a good point. The local real estate agent, you, my friends out there, you could start to spot these trends in your marketplace. So there was an example, Sean, that when I looked up the homeowners in high-end California communities who bought kind of between maybe 17, 18, and 19, and they bought it there at a high price, and then they rented it out. And then when kind of COVID hit, they received a huge bump in equity. And I was like, hey, I believe that target group right there, a date range in which they bought, they left the state, that's a high probability absentee owner. And then what was so cool was I could actually check and test to see, was my assumption accurate? Right. So when I went and I selected that list, Sean, I went and I selected transfer date, and I could see how many actually sold.
Right.
So was my assumption accurate as a, local expert? And it was really cool to see that.
That's a really neat idea, where you take your list and then you look at the ones that match that list but sold, so you can see, is there transactions happening in that particular category or not? Is it worth your time or not?
Hey all, pardon the interruption. I just wanted to let you know, if you want to explore more about Property Radar, they did give me an affiliate link. And so if you use that affiliate link and run a little trial and test them out for 30 days, or you enjoy the product for the next couple of years, I get a little financial incentive. So drop down below and you'll see a URL link. If you sign up there, that supports me, supports my channel, and I'm very appreciative of that. I love Property Radar. I've been playing around with this and recommending it and coming up with different strategies. So you can count on me to be able to continue to bring new ideas on how to use that tool for you guys to be able to take more listings and get more sales into the future. So I hope this is a valuable session for you, and thank you so much for supporting the channel. All right, the second thing that we all need Property Radar for is the tool set for the I have a buyer and or the I just wrote an offer on your neighbor's house. So my friends, in the last 2 years when we had extreme low inventory, the I have a buyer letter and or phone call was hugely successful for either finding new listings and or selling your buyer the house that you found. Now, the reason why I've recommended Property Radar is because in this tool, we can actually narrow the whole scope down. So if your buyer wanted a 4-bedroom and a 2.5 bath, and they wanted a 2-story in a particular community, it was really hard to come up with that very narrow list. And so, a lot of agents kind of felt a little too overwhelmed with, well, how am I going to communicate with the 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath? How am I going to do that effectively? And so we were all kind of left in I want to do this, but I don't have the tool set to do it. So I believe that this strategy, right, even on a buyer consultation, Sean, I have had a great client who on a buyer consultation says, hey, by the way, we'll also go after homeowners directly, and we'll also set you up for anything that's new onto the market. So my friends, what a powerful tool set for us to, get more buyer clients closed with more control. Sean, anything to add to this topic of the I have a buyer or I wrote an offer?
The thing about the I have a buyer, if you do it consistently over time, right, each of those owners is going to see a number of letters from you saying, I have a buyer. And so even if they're not thinking about selling right now, even if they don't call right now, right, when they do reach that point they want to sell, they're probably going to call the person that sent them 5, 10 letters over the last, few years saying, I have a buyer, because that's obviously what sellers want. The other one that I'll add here on the kind of servicing your buyer, you're driving down a street and your buyer goes, oh, I wish that house was for sale. It's beautiful. Imagine pulling over right there, right? Click on that Property Radar, click on the phone number for that owner, call the owner right there. Now, it doesn't matter whether you reach the owner, whether the owner's interested in selling or whatever. You just put on a Superman cape for that buyer, right? They're like, oh my gosh, like this agent's going to do, whatever it takes to find us our dream home, including calling people randomly. Like, this is amazing, right? So it's a good way to make super fans.
Yeah, thanks for reminding me of with the Property Radar app, right? You can do all of that from the app as you guys are driving around and start to build a list too. What struck me what struck me really intensely was, Sean, when I was talking to you about this, you said, I've never bought a house on the market. And when I thought about that, I was like, you know what? All of the real estate investors have always gone direct to homeowners. So this tool for real estate agents is really just adding this arsenal into your, into your game, so that you can be, expanding beyond the MLS.
So I was just going to say that there's no potential listings in the MLS.
Correct.
Not a single potential listing in the MLS.
Yeah. Let's go to an advanced strategy that I've done some video content around, but really, PropertyRadar inspired me, which is the most likely to sell. Now, we all know that, kind of title reps and different services are trying to sell all of you guys these lists, right? And they're very expensive, by the way. So, but really, I believe that the hyperlocal expert should be able to identify, using the demographic tool in PropertyRadar, a significantly better list. There's 3 that I've identified over the years that have been highly successful. One is the kind of the super senior, the downsizing retiree, right? Using PropertyRadar, you can pull that list of the demographic, the property type in your geographic territory, and build that campaign.
2-story, the one story. Big square footage going to smaller square footage, maybe a rough neighborhood with lots of hills and stuff versus a flatter neighborhood closer to hospitals, all those things for your super senior, right?
Yeah. And again, the hyperlocal expert understands these things and they can see those trends. So with the tool, you can just test your assumption. I think people like this are doing things like that. Let's go into PropertyRadar. Let's take a look to see how many there are in my marketplace, and then create that list and go target market them. The big one for me over the last couple of years, Sean, we've talked about this, which is the kind of the millennials, the 30 somethings that, had kids, which you could select that, and they owned an attached property, either a condo or a townhome, and they had a huge equity position. Well, most likely I knew what they were going to do. They were going to sell and they were going to buy something significantly more expensive, which was a huge financial opportunity to get both of those. So, my friends, we have to start really thinking a little bit more clearly, looking at the trends in the marketplace, and start building some of your new campaigns. Sean, anything to add on some of this kind of most likely to sell?
We are seeing some folks come out with AI that will tell you, hey, here's who's likely to sell. But they don't tell you why they're likely to sell. So what do you say when you call those folks? And the reality is, we work in the market. We know who sells. We know why they sell. Why not just go find those folks and talk to them specifically about their situation? Because then that shows that we are knowledgeable, we have empathy for what they're going through, et cetera, and they're more likely to bond with us than, hey, my computer AI says you might be a seller, right? Like, I don't know what that does for you.
Exactly. I agree with that wholeheartedly. Let's take a look at number 4 strategy that we all need. As top listing agents or as good listing agents, it is critical that we communicate with the neighborhood about the listing that we just took, that we put under contract, and or that we sold. And for those that do this successfully, they always find the next listing appointment and listing opportunity, and or add great future sellers into their database. The problem that I see, Sean, and most of the agents out there understand this, is we're always like kind of going at the last minute. We don't have the tool set to pull the right customized radius search for this neighborhood. So we go to these other services and we just kind of buy stuff, or we get bad lists and we kind of throw money at this thing all haphazardly, and we just waste money, which is, I would say, is traditionally why the just listed, just sold campaigns don't have a huge success track record. So my friends, having the tool to be able to customize exactly what you would want to market to in the neighborhood of your listing, I think that creating that list and then maybe connecting that to a marketing service, which I believe you guys help them out with, I think that is the jam. There's a new company that is basically trying to do this for you guys, but they're saying if you just listed a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, single story, wouldn't it be kind of cool to identify all the 3-bedroom, 2-bath, single stories and then send them something specific about this? So we can play around with this tool, guys, and dramatically increase the effectiveness of your campaign and your phone calls and really the service that you're offering. So any additional things to add to this, Sean?
Jump in on some of the specific things, right? So you want to eliminate folks that are their home listed already. So no reason to mail them. You're just listed, just sold. That's a waste of money. You want to eliminate folks who just bought. If they bought in the last 6 to 12 months, you could include them just to start introducing yourself, but they're not going to be really a likely candidate for you, so you can save some money there. Maybe you're on a waterfront property and we have this odd even address, so you can get people on the water side of the street versus the non-water side of the street. Instead of a radius, do the same street and get all of the folks down the same street. Sometimes a radius takes you over the railroad tracks into a completely different neighborhood. So, there's a lot of ways here that you can think about more effectively delivering your just listed, just sold messages to folks who are actually likely to do business with you.
Yes, correct. Right. And this is where I think the putting a little bit of effort into looking at how to find the best target audience for your just listed, just sold, I think this would inspire and motivate a lot more agents to really get out there and do this work and find those next listings. So I think it's brilliant. Let's take a look at listing strategy number 5. And this is where I spend a lot of time, which is your geographic farm and or a niche farm. Either one of those two things, you would definitely want to have PropertyRadar on your behalf. So I'll just list a few things that I think are important. So immediately in a geographic farm, I would pull my absentee owners out and I would start marketing to them specifically. Now, there's also the renters in those houses. So for my friends who are in more high-end marketplaces, the tenant of that property could be an amazing buyer that you could be helping. So separating out that list, right? Then going back to the most likely to sell and pulling all of those in your geographic farm and start doing better target marketing to those people. Okay, I've also really enjoyed just looking at transfers and all some of the, looking at stats using the PropertyRadar for understanding really what's actually happening, because PropertyRadar is looking at the transfer as opposed to what's on the MLS. So a lot of people who are looking at evaluating a geographic farm territory, they're really just looking at MLS sold data, which is not the whole story. So a lot of properties sell off market. And so you may be saying, well, the turnover rate is not as high as I'd like it to be, especially in the high end. Well, you're not seeing everything that traded off the market. So some data research, I believe, is really helpful with PropertyRadar on the geographic farm. Sean, anything to add to this?
Yeah, start with, just exactly what you're saying. Start with your entire area, make that as a list in PropertyRadar. Then you can take that list and include it in another list and start adding criteria. So I'll take a list like that is my geographic farm. I'll make sure there's enough transactions happening in that geographic farm using our insights tool, which will tell you how many transactions, what months of the year you can go on vacation because nothing's happening. There's good stuff there, right? And then once you have that list, include it in other lists. And you should have a list of properties in foreclosure, properties with HOA liens. If you have an HOA in your market and they're in a fight with the HOA, they're leaving one way or the other, right? Because they're mad at the HOA. Other things, underwater, free and clear. You should be thinking about, everybody says the same thing to everybody, but not everybody in your farm is the same. You've got people who are old, you've got people who are young, you've got people who have lived there forever, you've got people who have only lived there for a few weeks. And what you're saying to these different groups should be different. And so taking that geographic farm, creating these segments, like you were talking about, Patrick, with the absentee owners and the others, is just such a powerful way that's going to differentiate you tremendously from everybody else marketing into that farm.
Yeah, agreed. And, for me, I'm always looking at how do I save a few dollars and increase the conversion rates and the success. And so a little bit of effort to pay attention to these details, learn the tool, learn all the options, could make a massive difference in your success in a geographic farm. And of course, our goal, Sean, is I want to increase the percent market share that you guys have out there. That is the game. Let's go from 3% to 5% to 10%. Our goal should always be 20% market share, whether or not that's on the buy side and or on the sell side. And my friends, we'll make a fortune if we can get that done. Sean, anything else to add in terms of resources or tools? I love your guys' YouTube channel. There's a ton of great content there. Obviously, they should go onto the website and click onto resources and take a look at any additional education that you guys are doing. Obviously, you guys, you should sign up for the service and activate your first search. Is there anything else that you guys offer, Sean, in terms of the Property Radar tool set that these guys
there's
need
so
to know
much.
about?
The biggest thing that I would plant a seed around, right, is a kind of multi-channel marketing. Right? It's okay if you only do one thing. If you make cold calls or you just do direct mail, that's okay. But things get really powerful when you take these audiences. What we're really creating here is an audience, right? Whether it's just listed, just sold, or likely sellers, we're creating an audience. And you do online ads to that audience using custom audience. You do phone calls, you do voicemail drop, there's a bunch of different ways that you can reach that same group of folks, email marketing, etc. You need phone numbers, you need emails. That's the big thing that we did to public records that really wasn't available for many years to do a lot of that marketing. And but think about that multi-channel marketing and trying to do not just one, but more than one of these things if you can, because that will also greatly increase your effectiveness and results.
Yeah, and I believe that, in the past, because agents didn't own the tool, they didn't have the tool, they weren't creating lists, we'd have to go get a list from a title rep, and we were always in a hurry. We didn't have a lot of time. We weren't able to really have the time to think through the best action plan with all the different ways that we could be communicating, because we're just kind of, hey, where's my list for my geographic farm? Hey, we need to get something out, and it was just always kind of like happenstance. So guys, and again, Property Radar just rolled out nationally, so you guys are across all the states. Is there any feedback on what's happening nationally for you guys, Sean?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's been big for us. A lot of growth for sure. Yeah. I will say, there's 3,142 counties around the U.S. At the end of the day, our core data comes from the county, and your county may suck, right? And other counties are amazing. And so you kind of have to take a look at that and evaluate it. Don't expect the data to be perfect, because the counties just aren't perfect at putting this data in. But if you can reduce that, pool of potential things from 1,000 to 200 and spend your time on that 200 and increase your likelihood, you're going to be way more successful.
Yeah, I highly recommend your video on your YouTube channel on the county records. That was so helpful for me to understand kind of the problems with the county records and all of our, kind of data that we use in real estate. And then what you have done over the last, decade or so to be able to organize it in a way that we could use that effectively. So if you guys, that's a really great video to watch. Make sure you check that out.
No, thanks.
Good. Any final words, Sean?
Great job, Patrick.
You got it. All right, guys, check out Property Radar. Let's get on your listing lead generation strategy. Let me know how I can help you construct your campaigns and figure out what to do to help you become the next top listing agent. Thank you so much. We'll see you guys soon. All right, well, if you got this far into the video, then obviously you are interested in learning more about Property Radar. So again, make sure you guys use that link down below. That really supports me and my channel and continues to encourage me to create more content like this. I'll definitely have Sean on. He's got some new things that are coming down the pipe in terms of a dialer and some different new ways for us to be able to use the tool to generate more conversations and more opportunities and more listing appointments. So jump down, grab that link down below. And again, reach out to me if I can help you out with anything. Leave a comment down below if you want me to cover more information like this or different ways we can use that. All right, guys, have an awesome one. Make sure you guys check out some of the different playlists that I have right here. And then you really probably need to look at the getting price reductions script that I have right here. I'll put that there, so check that out. Have a great one, guys. Thanks.